Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gift. In this video I'll be making this beautiful play suit. The first video is the inspiration, while the second video is what I made. I'll be making use of 2.5 yards of fabric, so I'll be drafting the pattern first. I'll be drafting both the front and the back together, so I just marked 2 inches, which is going to serve as my zipper allowance line. Then at the top of the paper I'm going to rule a straight line, which is going to serve as my shoulder line. From the shoulder line I'm going to mark my half length, that is my shoulder to my waistline, plus 1 inch seam allowance, so I marked 17 inches. My shoulder to my waist measurement is 16 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance, making it 17 inches. From the zipper allowance, I'm marking my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. Then from the 8 inches, I'm going to mark the length of the sleeve. So I'm going to use the rest part of this paper, which is 7.5 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch from that point as my shoulder slope. From the shoulder slope, I'll be just marked the depth of the sleeves, which is 9 inches. I used my round armhole measurement divided by 2 plus 1 inch seam allowance because I don't want the sleeves to be too open. That gave me 9 inches, so I connected the line to the center of the paper. Then I'm going to connect the sleeves to the shoulder slope like this. Then for the neckline, I'm going to be taking the width of 3 inches for both the front and back. Then the depth for the back, I'll be taking the depth of 1 inch. For the front, I'm going to be taking the depth of 6.5 inches. So it's a V neckline. You can make yours deeper. You can make it 7 or 7.5 inches. It depends on what you want. So I'm going to connect all the dots together like this. I extended the back neckline to the zipper allowance, and the front is just stopping at the zipper. It's just stopping at the zipper allowance line. Then after that, I connected the neckline to the shoulder slope like this. I went in by 1/2 inch on the sleeves depth line and I connected it to the shoulder slope in a slanted way. So on this line, I'm going to mark my bust measurements divided by 4. Then I'm going to add 4 inches seam allowance to the side. You can decide to add 5 inches to yours. So what I have on this line, I'm going to mark on the waistline as well. So I'm going to take the same measurement on the waistline. Then I'm going to connect the 2 dots together on a straight line like this. Note that I'm taking all these measurements after the zipper allowance line. I didn't include the zipper allowance to it. On this side line, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch and I'm going to blend it to the sleeves like this. So this is to give the armhole some kind of shape, so it will not just be straight. On the waistline at the zipper allowance area, I'm going to go out by 1/2 inch and I'm going to connect it to the top in a slanted way like this. So I'm adjusting the zipper allowance line in order to avoid zipper bulge. So I told you guys that this is both the front and back pattern. So I'm just going to cut out the pattern for the back first before I cut for the front. So I just cut out the neckline for the back, then I went ahead to cut my fabric. I have 2 pieces of fabric. I folded my fabric into 2 before placing my pattern on it. I added 1/2 inch to the length and 1/2 inch to the sleeves area. So this is what I have. So I have 2 pieces. It is splitted into 2 because I'll be adding a zipper to the back. So this is the back. I'm going to continue with the front. So first of all, I'm going to you can either fold this in if you're using one pattern like me, or you cut it out. So I'm just going to fold it in and I'm going to cut the neckline for the front. So I'll be using this pattern for the shirt. I'm going to roll a straight line at the top of the paper, which is going to serve as the waistline. So from the waistline, I'm going to come down by 12 inches as the depth, as my crotch line depth. So I divided my hip measurement by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. So because this pant is free, I added 2 inches seam allowance to it. So I'm going to roll a straight line across that dot I just marked. From the crotch line, I'm going to come down by 3 inches as my tie line. So I'm going to do a straight line across that dot. Then I'm going to take my tape from the waistline to mark the length. So I'll be making use of 18 inches as the length of the short. So you can take whatever length you want to. So I'm going to mark the 18 inches and I'm going to roll a straight line across the dot I just marked. So I'm drafting the front part of the short. So I'm going to place the half length on the short like this to get the measurement. So this is the front. So I'm going to fold that zipper allowance in like this. Then I'm going to place this on this. Just make sure you place it where there will be allowance on this side I'm marking, so you'll be able to mark your crotch extension line. So I'm just going to maintain the same waistline for both the half length and the top. So I'm going to extend the waistline I marked on this point down to the crotch line like this, so this will be the crotch depth, the straight line I just marked. Then I'm going to extend the other dots to the crotch line like this. So for the crotch extension line, I'm going to divide my hip measurement into 4. What I have, I'm going to divide it into 4 again. So I had 2.5 inches, so that is my crotch extension, 2.5 inches. Or you can divide what you have in between this line into 4. What you have again, you divide it into 4. You can either use any of the method. So from the center of the line like this, I'm going to go out by 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect it back into the crotch depth line like this. I'll connect it to the crotch depth line and to the crotch extension line I just marked. So I'm going to use this part of the ruler to connect the crotch extension down on a straight line. From the crotch depth line, I'm going to come down by half an inch from the waistline and I'm going to connect it in a slanted way to the other side of the waistline. Then I'm going to cut out the excess part of the paper. So I connected this other side to the short length also. And I went ahead to cut my fabric. My fabric is folded into two. I have two pieces for the front of this pant. So I'm going to place the two right sides on each other. I'll make sure I arrange them properly. Then I'm going to sew in this part. I'm using my chalk to trace out by half an inch like this. So I'll be using the front pattern of the shorts to draft the back pattern. So for the crotch extension line, from the front to crotch extension, I'm going to extend the back by 2.5 inches also, and I'm going to come down by half an inch from that crotch extension line. So on the front pattern, I went in by 2 inches. From the center of the front pattern, I went in by 2 inches. Then I'm going to go up by 1 inch from that 2 inches. Then on this other side, I'm going to mark the 2 inches I went in by on this other side. Hope you guys understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to connect that 1 inch I went up by to the new 2 inches I marked on this other side of the paper in a slanted way. So this is the new waistline. I extended my back by 1 inch. So if you have a big butt, you can extend yours by 1.5 inch, or you can stick to that 1 inch. It will be okay. So I'm going to use my free hand to connect from this point to the half an inch I came down by from my crotch extension line. So I'm going to trace the crotch extension line to this part where the front pattern is. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing clearly. Then I'm going to trace this other side also. You can see this side is starting from this 2 inches. So I'm going to connect that 2 inches down on a straight line on the other side of the paper. Then I'm going to trace the length of the front pattern. The length is going to be the same as the back pattern. So I'm going to remove the front pattern from the back pattern. So if you are using your front pattern, make sure you pin it well on your back pattern to avoid any form of mistake. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch as my zipper allowance. So I'm going to mark the length of my zipper allowance as 8 inches. Then I'm going to mark one, I'm going to add extra 1 inch like this. So I'm going to be placing my tape like this, and I'm going to be marking the 1 inch. Then I'm going to extend the waistline to where the 1 inch is on this side. Then I'm going to use my free hand to connect the 1 inch back into the crotch depth line like this, and this is what I have. So I'm going to cut out the excess part I don't need. So ensure that the zipper allowance you add to your short will be the same you added to your half length. Remember that I took out half inch from the waist half length earlier. That's why I marked 1 inch as my zipper allowance. So I went ahead to cut the front half length and the short. So this is folded into two. This is the front. So when I open it up, this is what it's looking like. So I'm going to pipe the neckline. You either cut a facing or use a lining piece. It depends on what you want to use to turn yours. So this is the back shot. I went ahead to cut it with the pattern also. So I'm going to bring the back half length and match the two waists together and ensure they are the same thing. If they are not the same, you go ahead and trim the excess parts from it. So ensure the waist for the front and the back, everything is the same. So I just have quarter an inch, that's quarter an inch extra, so I'm just going to cut that out. Then I'm going to open up the fabric like this. So I'm going to place the right side of the half length on the right side of the short. Make sure the two we are placing the sides that are matching together. Then I'm going to place the second half length on it. Then I'm going to join them together by half. I'm going to join them together by half an inch. So I did the joining for the front after piping the neckline. So you either use your facing or you pipe the neckline. Now I'm going to measure where I'm going to start sewing the elastic thread from. So I'm going to minus 2 inches from my waistline. So I'm going to start the measurement from 14 inches. So I marked 14 inches, 2 inches from my waistline. Then I'm going to wool a straight line on that 14 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 6. I came down by 6 inches initially, but I realized it was going to be too long, so I reduced it to 4 inches. So from this line I came down by 4 inches. Then I gave half an inch space in between each of the line. So after the first line I marked half an inch and rolled the first line. That is all I did for the waist. So I'm going to take it on the machine and so this measurement is supposed to be on the right side of the fabric. So please ensure you mark this measurement on the right side of the fabric because you'll be sewing from the right side, not the wrong side. So this is the elastic thread I'll be using. So I'm going to place it I'm going to open it and I'm going to roll it around my reeler like this. You can do it with your machine. So I'm going to roll it around the reeler and I'm going to put it under the machine. Then I'm going to take the thread up. I'm going to fix a thread up. Then I'm going to roll the line at the right side. Then I'm going to sew it straight. I'm going to sew straight stitches on each of the line I marked. So I'm going to be repeating the same thing here. So from my shoulder to 14 inches I'm going to mark my first line. So I'm doing this on the right side of the fabric because I'll be sewing on the right side of the fabric. So ensure you mark this line on the right side of your fabric because you'll be sewing on the right side of the fabric. Don't forget that. So I came down by 14 inches and I'm rolling a straight line from the 14 inches. So I told you guys I marked 6 inches at first, but I reduced it to 4 inches because that 6 inches was too long. So I came down by 4 inches, so the distance between each of the line is half an inch. So from this first line I marked half an inch and drew a straight line. So I'm just going to go to my machine and do everything I've explained. So I'm done sewing the waist. You can see how stretchy it is now. So this is what I have for the waist, and you can see the length is 4 inches. So you can either make use of 4 or 5 inches. It depends on what you want. So I did the same thing for the back, also for each side of the back piece. The back also is 4 inches. So I'm going to place the right side of the back on the right side of the front. Then I'm going to join the shoulders together. So I'm going to place the other side as well. Arrange your fabric properly. Then I'm going to join the shoulders together by half an inch. So I'm going to join on this side, then I'm going to join on the other side. After I'm done joining the shoulders, I'm going to add my zipper to the back. Then I'm going to add my zipper to the back. Then I'm going to hem the sleeves round after adding my zipper to the back. So I'm done adding my zipper to the back, and this is what I have. I joined the shoulders together also. So now I'm going to close up both sides like this. So ensure you hem your sleeves before closing the sides. So I'm going to place them on each other properly. Then I'm going to close it by half an inch. So this is free and the waist is already fitted. So you don't need to make much adjustments. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Then I'm going to join the crotch area together like this. So I'm going to place the two centers on each other like this. Then I'll make sure I pin it or hold it so it won't shift while I'm sewing. So I'm going to sew from one center to the end. I'll sew from one center to the end, then from the other center to the end. So that's how I'm going to close up that side. Then I'm going to hem the piece round. So I'm done doing that. For the rope at the center, I made a false rope, then I stitched it to the front with my needle and thread. Go ahead and make a rope. Then you wear the play suits, then you mark where the center is and stitch the rope to where you want it to be. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial to this point.